Welcome to your Python deep dive.
Wow, this mind map you shared.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. We've got everything here, from basic data types to meta classes,
You're clearly not afraid to dive into the deep end of coding.
and a whole section on performance optimization.
Killing me impressed.
It's okay.
Are you ready to transform this mind map from a map of ideas into a plan of action?
Absolutely. It's like you've given us the architectural plans for your Python journey, and we're here to help you start building.
I love that analogy.
So you've laid out all the essential building blocks, data types, variables, control flow.
The foundations of any programming language.
What do you think is absolutely crucial to grasp early on?
Data types are key.
Think of them like building materials.
You wouldn't use wood to build a skyscraper, right?
Similarly, you need to know which Python data types are best suited for different tasks.
Lists are great for ordered data. Dictionaries excel at storing key value pairs.
It's about selecting the right tool for the job.
So instead of just memorizing definitions, it's about understanding how each data type functions in practice.
Exactly.
And once you've got your material,
You need to direct the construction,
that's where control flow comes in.
your if statements and loops.
It's how you give your program instructions.
You want to create a program that filters data based on certain criteria,
Control flow is your project manager.
making sure those instructions are executed flawlessly.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay, so we've got our foundation set.
Now, your mind map takes us from these core concepts to a whole world of possibilities. Frameworks and libraries.
Django for web development. Pandas and NumPy for data crunching.
Fascinating.
Even Pygame for game development.
Here is how.
It's like stepping into a massive coding playground.
Python empowers you to specialize.
It's not just one language.
It's a gateway to countless domains.
This section of your mind map isn't just a list.
It's a menu of possibilities.
Are you drawn to building interactive websites?
Yes.
Thinking complex data sets?
Like having a universal travel adapter.
Python lets you plug into almost any area of software development.
Now, you can't build a masterpiece with just your bare hands.
Yeah.
You've got a dedicated section on essential Python tools. Can't build a house
Without tools, right?
Pip.
It's time to gear up.
Talk about PyCharm,
What I love about it
especially for beginners.
is the built-in debugger.
Imagine writing a chunk of code and it's not working as expected.
PyCharm's debugger lets you step through your code line by line,
So you can see exactly where things are going wrong.
which is super helpful when you're just starting out.
Okay, so PyCharm is like having a super-powered spell check that catches your coding typos before they become major bugs.
Precisely.
And then there's Pip.
Your package manager.
Think of it as your coding app store.
Need a library for data visualization or web scraping.
Pip lets you download and manage them effortlessly.
So instead of spending hours trying to build everything from scratch,
You can leverage the power of pre-built libraries.
saving time and sanity.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
And the right tools can make all the difference.
Speaking of working smarter, your mind map also emphasizes best practices.
We've got PP8, virtual environments.
Absolutely.
This feels like the level up your code section.
This is where you go from writing code that works to writing code that is elegant, efficient, and maintainable.
So it's not just about getting the job done.
It's about doing it well.
Precisely.
Let's talk about P8.
It's like the style guide for Python.
Think of it this way.
You wouldn't submit a research paper without proper grammar and formatting right,
PP8 provides those guidelines for your code.
ensuring it's clear, consistent, and easy for others and your future self to understand.
Okay, so it's about more than just making the code look pretty,
It's about making it readable and understandable.
which is crucial for collaboration and long-term project sustainability.
Now you also have virtual environments listed under best practices.
What makes them so essential?
Imagine you're working on two different Python projects.
Let's say a website and a data analysis tool,
Now, both projects need to use a library called requests.
but they require different versions.
Virtual environments are like separate containers for each project.
So you can have different versions of libraries without them clashing.
So it's about preventing dependency conflicts.
I can see how that would save a lot of headaches,
Exactly.
especially as projects become more complex.
Virtual environments help you maintain order in your coding world.
preventing those dreaded, but it works on my machine moments.
It's a lifesaver.
And speaking of leveling up, let's talk about the secret weapons section of your mind map.
Those advanced Python concepts.
Decorators, generators, metaclasses,
Oh.
they sound a bit like spells from a coding grimoire.
Might sound intimidating.
But once you master them,
You'll wonder how you ever coded without them.
let's start with decorators.
They allow you to add functionality to existing code without directly modifying it.
Okay, so it's like adding superpowers to your code without altering its DNA.
Give me an example.
Imagine you have a function that fetches data from a website.
Now you want to time how long it takes for that function to run.
Instead of modifying the original function,
You can use a decorator to wrap around it and measure the execution time.
it keeps your code clean, modular, and efficient.
That's pretty slick.
It sounds like these advanced concepts are all about writing more efficient and Pythonic code.
You got it.
And that's what we can explore further in the next part of this deep dive. You're right on the mark. Pythonic code isn't just about making things work, it's about making them work elegantly and efficiently.
And that leads us perfectly into the next stage of your roadmap.
Performance optimization.
You know I love squeezing every ounce of performance out of my code.
It's like tuning an engine for a race car.
Every millisecond counts.
And it's clear from your mind map that you've given this some serious thought.
It's a smart move.
You wouldn't try to run a marathon with a backpack full of rocks, would you?
You'd want to be as lightweight and efficient as possible.
The same goes for your code.
Let's talk about choosing the right data structures.
It's a common performance bottleneck.
Okay, so it's not just about picking a data structure that can hold your data.
It's about choosing the one that's optimized for how you'll be using it.
Exactly.
Let's say you have a massive data set of customer information.
And you need to frequently search for customers by their email address.
Using a list for this would be like trying to find a book in a library with no organizational system.
It might take a while.
You'd be stuck checking each book one by one.
Exactly.
But if you use a dictionary,
Where each email address is a key.
the lookup becomes almost instantaneous,
Dictionaries are designed for this kind of fast retrieval.
making them a much more efficient choice in this scenario.
So understanding the strengths and weaknesses of each data structure is crucial for writing high-performance Python code.
What about memory management?
That sounds a bit more intimidating.
It might sound complex, but the good news is that Python handles a lot of the heavy lifting for you with its built-in garbage collector.
However, you can still optimize your code's memory usage.
For example, let's say you're processing a huge file line by line,
Instead of loading the entire file into memory at once,
which it could be very memory intensive.
you can process it line by line.
Releasing the memory you no longer need as you go.
So it's like streaming a movie online instead of downloading the whole thing.
You can enjoy the content without overloading your system.
That's a fantastic analogy.
And then there's caching.
Have you ever had to perform a long, complex calculation in your code?
Only to realize you need that same result multiple times.
Oh, I've been there.
Talk about frustrating.
With caching, you can store the results of expensive operations.
So you don't have to recalculate them every time.
It's like keeping a cheat sheet handy for those complex computations.
Python even has built-in tools like functools.orucache that make implementing caching a breeze.
I am all about working smarter, not harder.
Now you've highlighted the importance of community in your mind map,
What role does community play in all of this?
especially when it comes to performance optimization.
The Python community is like having a global network of mentors and collaborators at your fingertips.
They're constantly sharing optimization tips
Code snippets.
and creative solutions to common performance bottlenecks,
It's like having a pit crew standing by.
ready to help you fine-tune your code for maximum speed.
You've even dedicated a whole section of your mind map to learning resources.
Clearly, you're committed to this journey.
And with good reason.
The official Python documentation is a goldmine of information.
Offering detailed explanations
Code examples.
and even performance optimization tips.
Then there are platforms like RealPython,
Known for their in-depth tutorials.
and of course, the legendary Stack Overflow,
Ah, Stack Overflow.
every programmer's best friend, an occasional source of existential dread.
I swear I've dreamt in Stack Overflow code snippets before.
But seriously, it's a lifesaver when you're stuck on a tricky bug or trying to optimize a piece of code.
Absolutely.
Stack Overflow is like a collective brain for programmers.
And you'd be surprised how often someone else has encountered the same performance issue you're facing.
It's reassuring to know you're not alone in the trenches of code optimization.
You've given us a lot to digest here,
Data structures, memory management, caching, and the power of community.
but there's more to your Python journey, isn't there?
You're right.
There's still a lot to uncover.
But first, let's take a moment to appreciate how far we've come and the incredible potential that lies ahead.
You're right, we have covered a ton of ground already.
It's like we've hiked from the foothills of Python all the way up to base camp.
With the summit in sight.
But before we start our final ascent,
I'm curious.
if you had to pick one thing from this deep dive to focus on
Matt,
for maximizing impact,
those core concepts we discussed at the beginning is absolutely essential.
think of them as the fundamental building blocks of your Python journey.
Once you have a solid grasp of those,
You can build anything.
so it's like ensuring your coding foundation is rock solid before you start building that skyscraper of Pythonic elegance.
Exactly.
And remember, this isn't just about reaching some arbitrary definition of expert and stopping there.
The beauty of Python is that there's always something new to explore,
A new library to master.
or a new challenge to tackle.
It's like having a passport to a world of endless possibilities.
With each new project taking you on an exciting adventure.
You know, I've always found that even after years of coding in Python,
I still encounter moments where I'm learning something completely new. It's that constant sense of discovery that keeps me hooked.
completely agree.
And those aha moments.
Where a concept finally clicks.
Or you discover an elegant solution to a challenging problem.
Those are incredibly rewarding.
And let's not forget the satisfaction of building something amazing with your own two hands.
Or, well, your keyboard,
Absolutely.
whether it's a website, a data analysis tool.
Or even just a simple script that automates a tedious task.
Creating something that solves a real-world problem is incredibly fulfilling.
You've equipped us with a powerful toolkit of knowledge.
Techniques and resources to tackle those challenges head-on.
My pleasure.
And remember, the Python community is always there to support you on your journey.
Don't hesitate to ask questions
Share your knowledge.
and learn from others.
It's a journey best shared.
Beautifully said.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Python,
I want to leave you with this.
the only limit to what you can achieve with Python is your own imagination.
Embrace the journey, never stop exploring.
And most importantly,
Have fun coding.